applying is easy. Getting approved is a whole other different ball game. And I have a friend who's using this right now, and I'll just very shortly talk about his story. He was using his GI Bill. He is almost finished with his undergrad. I think he has maybe 3, maybe 4 more classes in his capstones. So he's been using his GI Bill for at least 2-3 years. And I've been telling him he has 100%. He does not work. He's in school full time. I've been telling him, dude, just apply, right? Don't even think about it. Just apply and see what happens. And I've been telling him this for years, and he never did it. Finally, he did it about 6 months ago. Was approved. First time meeting with the vr&e counselor. They have a specific name. I don't know what it is. But he met with the counselor, was approved, and not only did he get approved for vr&e and still makes BAH, but they reinstated all of his GI Bill. So now when he uses vr&e to finish his undergrad, he can go to grad school, get a master's, get a doctorate in whatever on the GI Bill. And so this benefit is, people do not talk about it enough. Another thing, Jason, is those who are med boarded. Those who are med boarded, automatically vr&e would be the very first thing I do, because think about it. You get med boarded, meaning you can't serve because of a medical condition. It's very likely, generally, that whatever that condition is, it's going to prevent you from getting a job with your current skills. Therefore, you need to obtain other skills for vr&e. I'll let you talk about what vr&e is. I know I just kind of stole that thunder, but seeing his face and his GI Bill being reinstated, he's like, "Oh, dude, that was awesome. Why didn't I do this?" I was like, "Dude, I've been trying to tell you." So yeah, that's a true story. Happened about 4 or 5-ish months ago, and he's lived his life right now. I'm sure he hates grad school, or he's gonna hate grad school, but he'll deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad that you talked about it. vr&e is definitely one of the hidden gems, and also it's cumbersome and frustrating for a lot of folks to get approved. It's kind of a 2-layer it's dual factor login here, right? So one, you have to meet the qualification to even apply, which is the 10%, which isn't a big deal. But then you have to meet with the VRC, which is they still call them, I think, vocational rehabilitation counselors, even though they changed the actual title of the program to Veterans Readiness and Employment, which used to be vocational rehabilitation and employment. Here's the big key, okay? And this is coming from me, who, one, my own personal experience, and then my office during my years of being in that world of benefits, seeing many people go through. I personally applied for vr&e and was denied. Then I dusted off and applied again. Then I was denied again. Then I dusted off and I applied again. And then I was granted. So I saw a different counselor each time that I went through that process. And I'm glad, because finally my story resonated, right? It's a people thing. And I think personally that the VRCs have too much, latitude with their decision making. It's like, do I believe you? Do I not? How do I feel about this? Right. And that's part of it. The other part of it is we as veterans go into it thinking that it is an educational program. The VRCs, the counselors, hate that you think that it's an educational program. Okay. Because that is their job to figure out what's the missing component between you and your current situation and a great job. They're supposed to use their big brains to figure out, education or training? Let's put you in one of those and we'll get you into that job. So that's what they're paid to figure out, if you get what I'm saying. All you need to really do, and you can help guide them there, but they have to kind of back into it, right? You need to, hey, I'm in a bad employment space because of my service-connected condition or conditions. And I agree with you, Clay. The sooner you apply for it, probably the easier it is to get approved. Because if you're getting out of the military, for example, you have you have no job. You're actually getting kicked out of your job. So I can't stay in my job. So it really kind of forces their hand. That would be the absolute best case scenario. Not having a job, being fired because you couldn't hold your job is also a good kind of segue into it. I personally had a job. It was a well-paying job. I think part of my story when I was talking about it was my job was a contract job annually. So every year we had to hope that funds came in from both the Fed and the state in order to pay for our specific roles. So I was telling the counselor, look, there's no guarantee I have a job. And, in the writings for vr&e somewhere, it said something to the effect of to basically find you suitable employment or help you keep employment. Right. And so I was kind of going, well, if they don't get as much money, I need to be more valuable than everybody else. I need to boost up my value. How can we do that? Right. Solid. So it resonated with the third one, right? It sucked the first two times and I was irritated. But the thing that we learn as we get older is, you know what, let's just dust that off and move forward. The younger me would have been like, screw the VA and went on my way like I did with my first claim, right? Not the right move. Just dust off, adjust fire, and go at it. I will tell you that I love that you brought up the fact that they will mirror your housing allowance if you have any amount of GI Bill remaining, even if it's 1 day. So the story here is do not exhaust your post 9/11 GI Bill. Apply for vr&e and try to get that approved. And even if you don't get it approved that time, just keep a little bit of post 9/11 GI Bill somewhere, right? Don't use it all. Be cognizant of that because this thing could pay out dividends. The one kind of caveat, though, is that vr&e program will not merit to the maximum amount that you can receive. So in other words, if you are in San Francisco, California, very high cost of living, going to school there, I'm going to guess it's probably about, your BAH on post 9/11 would probably be like $4,500. Okay. If you use it through vr&e, they will max you out at $3,251. $3,251 is the maximum, but that is $2,100 more than you would get if you had a spouse and a dependent and just the regular subsistence allowance. So, and sometimes I feel like Porky Pig. So I'll just pick a different word and say it instead, just because it's easier. So anyway, that is just something to keep in mind. But it is way better. It's way smart to utilize your post 9/11 GI Bill mirroring aspect. They don't actually use it, like you said. They just mirror it if you have any remaining. If you don't, there's a lot. Many of you never had post 9/11 GI Bill, or you've already used it, or you've given it to a spouse or a dependent. 100%. There is still the subsistence allowance, and it pays out, around $1,000 a month if you have a couple dependents. So still better than a stick in the eye, and you also get free whatever they're sending you to, whether it's a short course in something to bridge that gap or a master's degree, whatever you and your counselor decide on. Man, I went deeper than I wanted to, but it's an important benefit.
That was good.
Right?
That's good.
So, all right, let's jump over to the 20s.